Welcome back to 2% Football Camp. I'm Eduardo Sicilia, and today we have prepared another interview for you guys. Just as a little introduction, this person has pretty much been a sport junkie since he was little. After playing multiple sports and having success early on in his life, he later on decided to start coaching them, where he has also been really successful and has given him the ability to create a positive culture around him. Today he's the assistant principal and head coach of the football team for the Glenwood Rams, where I got to meet him, which resulted in an impact in my life that goes beyond football. That being said, we're really excited to have him here. Welcome, Coach Cory Faust.
Well, thank you.
Well, Coach, tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us your athletic background.
I've loved sports and just about everything that comes with it for as long as I can remember. It's been a passion and sometimes an obsession for me to play, train, or coach. I've just always been drawn to sports and competition and striving in the athletic arena. I grew up in a pretty small town in Iowa and went to a medium-sized high school, at least for Iowa. I had a pretty expansive experience as a student athlete growing up. I played football, basketball, baseball, and ran track in high school. I was able to play for Bob Dowd and Daryl Burmeister, who are Hall of Fame coaches in the state of Iowa in football and basketball. In college, I went to a small school, Central College. I was able to play for two different programs in college, one that struggled and one that was one of the winningest programs in the nation for the last 50 years. I also tried to play basketball for those two different schools. Then after that, I ended up being a student assistant coach for the women's basketball team for 1 year. So I've had about every role and experience that you could have as a student athlete, from captain to reserve. There were some successes, but it seemed like there were many more adversities and hardships for me. As an athlete, I've underperformed, I've choked, I've dealt with a variety of injuries and failed in a lot of ways at one time or another. As much as that adversity and those failures hurt, I think my ability to experience adversity and persevere as an athlete has been a big asset for me as a coach, because it taught me things like resilience, humility, empathy for others when they're going through tough times, and then just endurance. Those qualities have all benefited me greatly in my professional career and my personal life as an adult.
Like you mentioned, you learned a lot from every single sport, every single role you played. If you had to pick just one sport as an athlete, as a student athlete, which one was your favorite?
I've always been drawn to football, not because it was my best sport, probably just there's something about the game, there's something about the nature of, a group of guys in the 11-player game that, have to come together and find a way to move that football, against the other team's will, or to keep the other team from moving it. I think there's just something about that gets, competitive people inspired, and really all people, I think, can relate or intrigued by just that concept of the game and the physical nature of it. Nothing I've experienced quite like it. Like I said, I've at least dabbled in every sport there is, and for me there's nothing quite like playing tackle football.
Totally, I can agree with that. In what moment in your life did you decide that you wanted to become more than an athlete but coach athletes?
As a player, I was always analyzing the things that my coaches did and thinking about how I might do things the same or different if I was in their position. I mentioned Coach Dowd and Coach Burmeister earlier. I've learned from, all my coaches I had as a student athlete, and then, hundreds of coaches after my playing days. My time as a teacher and coach, I'm always listening to other people to see how both successful and unsuccessful people are doing things. I could never mention all the people that have helped me out or that I've learned from, so I can't really expand on those people, unfortunately. But I say all that just as an acknowledgement that I had at least an interest in coaching for a long time, even as a student athlete. For me, when I think it really started to click was when I was in college and I was able to work some summer football camps at Central College. There were a lot of Central alums who were highly successful high school coaches in terms of wins and losses, and those guys, as well as some other coaches, in the area, would come and work the camps each summer. And besides winning a lot, I noticed that those coaches had really their main mission was not not just to win, and their main mission wasn't to win, but it was to help boys become men who would make a positive difference in the world. And I saw those coaches' ability to facilitate, and I saw their desire to serve other people, and that was inspiring for me. And if I had to pick one kind of moment where I got really excited about it, that would be it.
Of course, I think what you mentioned is really true. We all get the stats, we all get the numbers, the win and losses, but the intangibles, what comes with it, and how you want to approach your team is really important. For example, for you, I was part of your program. I saw it with my own eyes, but explain us a little bit about what goals do you pursue every day when you wake up?
I've never had a ton of success, honestly, like verbalizing goals. I probably haven't done it like I should, but for me, I just think of like the main areas of my life that are really important to me, like my faith, which is where I'm at in my relationship with God, my family, which is where I'm at as a husband and a father, my career, which is the job I do as an educator and as a coach, with my own personal fitness, which kind of involves me meeting my own personal standards, which changed a little bit as I age, but my own personal standards of fitness and athletic performance. And then my relationships, which that means I got to answer the question, do I have meaningful relationships with other people, and do we add value to each other's lives? I know that if I'm neglecting any one of those areas for more than a day or two, I just don't feel right. And so those are the things that I pursue on a daily basis.
Got it. Well, I think you did mention it for a little bit, but if you have to name one person who impacted you either as a person, as a coach, or as a mentor, who would you name?
Yeah, so I mentioned Coach Burmeister and Coach Dow, and they had an impact, but there's just countless people that have impacted me, so I could never be fair, and really I shouldn't have mentioned anybody, but I can tell you that those people that impacted me the most are just people that believed in me or invested in me. When you believe in people, when you invest in them, I think you can have an impact on them.
I truly agree with that. I think as a person, not necessarily as a player, when you put every single thing they tell you, the important people in your life, the knowledge and the encouragement together, it really propels you into another level. Like you can keep moving forward, and when you have those kind of people, those positive impacts along the way, I think it really changes for someone. Now, if you have to give an advice to a student or an athlete, what would you say to them?
Oh man, I see a lot of athletes go through, and I've been doing this almost 20 years, and my first advice would be to not let fear of failure or fear of what other people think about you keep you from pursuing your goals and giving it your best shot. It's natural to have those feelings of fear and doubt, so expect them to come, but just learn how to talk positively to yourself when they come, so that you're always in attack mode and you're minimizing your chances for regret. Second, I'd say be all in with sports and school and have fun. You don't have to break rules to have fun in your life at all. So I think there's that misconception out there. Being all in, giving it your best shot in school and sports is fun, and you can have a ball doing that. You'll never regret giving your best shot in sports or school, but it's likely you will regret it if you don't. So commit today and really go for it.
That's one thing I would like people to take with them today. Success is fun. It's way more memorable to achieve something you work for and you sacrifice things for than a party or something you just did because you felt like you needed to belong somewhere. I'm not bashing good times with friends. Of course, you'll always have good memories about it. But worst case scenario about a sport, like you mentioned, is you failed, you lost a game, you didn't accomplish what you wanted to accomplish. But a worst case scenario, in the other hand, when it comes to breaking the rules, if we say it like that, it's something you could regret forever, probably an accident. And when you turn to the upside, maybe a good time will give you a nice story with your friends forever. But winning a championship, or helping someone out, or simply being genuinely a good person, that stays forever. Deep inside of your head, that stays forever. Success is fun. Obviously, this question comes with that one, but what happens if I fail? What happens if I don't get there? If my expectations are too high and I don't reach that? What do I do then?
Well, if your expectations are high, there's a chance that it might not work out for you. But man, what a way to live. and going for it is the only way to know if you could have achieved it. And I'd much rather have tried and failed than not tried and never known what I could have achieved.
I agree. There's this documentary called The Last Dance of Michael Jordan, and he was explaining how every shot you don't take, it's a missed opportunity. Like every shot you don't take, it won't go in because you didn't even give it a try. I totally agree with that mindset.
Yeah, I might add too, the best athletes, in my opinion, are able to surrender the outcome. They understand that there are no guarantees, that there's a chance that it might not go well for them, or they might not ultimately have success, but they can push past that and they can really go for it. And in the moment, until somebody proves that they can't do it right, they're going to believe in themselves and they're going to pursue it. But they're not afraid of failure.
Definitely. We just talked about success here a couple of times, but that word, success, how do you define it?
Yeah, so earlier I mentioned, that I might not have goals, but I kind of have these ideas that revolve around doing the best I can as a Christian, a husband, a dad, an athlete, a friend, as an educator. I found that I have more joy and peace of mind when I view success with what I call a deathbed mentality. And what that means is when I go to bed at night, if I can say that I was proud of the way I lived this past day, and if that were my last day on earth, I could find peace and I could be proud of the way I lived it. To me, that's success.
When you scratch that old cliche of money, academic success, numbers, pretty much, and you simply focus on going to sleep in peace with yourself and with your soul, it really settles this idea inside of you that it's not about how many houses you have or how many cars you can afford. Success goes way beyond that.
Yeah, on your last days, we don't get to take any of that money or those cars or the big house, the fancy whatevers with us. And I don't think those things are going to be important to us when we're on our deathbed. It's going to be the relationships we had. Were we part of something bigger than ourselves? Did we leave an impact on the people that we were around while we were here? So yeah, couldn't agree more.
When we're laying in that grave, those people are going to be the ones speaking for us. We won't be able to do that, but they are going to be the ones who are going to express our impact in this earth. And I believe that's really, really important. Our loved ones talking for us. Obviously, it comes with success, but for you, what are the ingredients for a positive culture? And how do you develop one with young adults?
Yeah, I'm a big believer that the best teams just care more. If you want to succeed at something, you make it a big deal. You commit to it day in and day out for extended periods of time, no matter what circumstances you face. There are two main areas that I mean when I say the best teams care more. One is that they care more about each other. They truly treat each other like a family, and they consider the well-being of their teammates as much as, or even more than, they consider their own well-being. Second, they care more about their training, which includes practice, their athletic enhancement training, their skill development, their mindset training, their nutrition, and their sleep. If you want to improve something, if you want to be good at something, you care about it.
Right. Talking about mindset, rest, exercise, all that I think comes with knowledge. And one of the best ways to get knowledge is by reading. From my point of view, people who read and stay tuned with the updates when it comes to their sport, their classes, whatever it is, they are a little bit ahead of people. I know you read a lot. Is there any book you would recommend or that you consider your favorite?
Oh man, just the first one that comes to my mind, honestly, is just the Bible. I do read a lot of books. I like to read books to make me better, but my ultimate therapy is probably just that. I'm gonna go back for a second because something that you said was really good. You mentioned just reading and studying. And I would say that is so true. Really, anything you want to be good at, that science of achievement is, figure out what you want to be good at and then just study it. Because most likely other people have already done it. Apply them to your own life, implement them, make adjustments where necessary. But in this day and age, there's no excuse for not having knowledge. You can find so many things in this age of the internet.
Right, like you mentioned earlier when you were talking about you as a player, I think nowadays we have the ability for us not to commit the mistake. If someone else committed that mistake before us, now we have the ability to go Google it, look what they did wrong, and instead of doing that, do the correct thing. I think that's a big plus for our age, the next generation of players coming in.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's no excuse, but if I feel like if I would have known now if I would have known then what I know now, or had access to the knowledge that's out there that people have today, I would have, been a lot more successful as an athlete. But like I said, that might just be an excuse, and I don't want that to be the case.
No, I totally get it. For you as a teacher or as a coach, what's your toughest challenge?
The first thing that pops into my mind is just setting a good example. You have to set the tone. You have to, hold yourself to the same standards that you're asking others to do. And if I'm not walking the talk, then other people aren't going to do it.
Huge responsibilities when it comes to a community, of course. Part of that positive and successful culture we've been talking about is that we as individuals and as a group, we want to accomplish and get to happiness. I think we all want that, to live those great moments, to share them with our loved ones, and for everything to be perfect. But we know that's not life. There are always going to be challenges, things you don't like, things that you're not used to, and you have to pick yourself up and keep on fighting. How have you faced these kind of challenges throughout your life?
Man, as I was getting ready for this interview, I got to thinking about it, and man, it's easy for me to count up numerous failures, embarrassing losses, losing seasons, heartbreak and failure, both in my personal and my professional life. I've had plenty of those nights where you can't sleep. You don't want to think about the thing that happened or that you did that you wish you could take back, but you can't stop thinking about it. And the number one thing that's gotten me through that is the realization that those failures and heartbreaks don't define me. The number two way that I overcome those times are to take a tough look in the mirror and accept responsibility in some way, and then figure out what I need to do better or different to avoid being in this situation in the future.
At the end of the day, people who are able to cross that little adversity or that huge adversity, I think they all realize that thing that happened in your life was there for a reason, and it made you become better, because there's no way around it. If you want to go through it, you'll have to adjust, because adjustment is a huge piece of, it's an integral part of our lives. Everything's changing, everything's evolving, and whenever you are able to do that constantly, you become better. Now, I don't like this question, but for the sake of the interview and the video, who's Eddie Sicilia as a player and who's Eddie Sicilia as a person?
Man, when you came to Glenwood, I wasn't really sure how that was going to work out. It's really hard to move into any new school district and to try to join a football program basically once the season's already I've never seen a player really be successful like you were, and I think that says a lot about your character and your integrity. And as a player, obviously you put in a ton of time and work on your skill set and then your mindset as well. I've never had a foreign exchange student be a leader like you were. I've had very few athletes even lead like you did. Your discipline to do what's right and keep the main things and treat other people well and sacrifice for other people is truly rare. As I got to know you more and more, I was just more and more impressed, and I know that those qualities are going to continue to help you be successful and change the world at whatever you set your mind to do.
Well, thank you, Coach. Obviously, like I just mentioned, I don't like this question because I like to keep myself humble, but those values that I've learned have come from people, really special people throughout my life, obviously including you, who have pushed me to become that. And for whoever is watching this, I just want you to understand that don't look down. Don't look at whoever's around you and make an excuse for why you can't do something. Just keep your head up and try to shoot for the stars. Like Coach said, whatever happens, happens. If you can't make it, that's that. But it won't be on you. Just control what you can control. That's one thing that I really learned about you and that you preach constantly, and it really helped me out. You can only control what you can control, and the rest, just leave it for someone else to take care of.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and that's why why you're such a difference maker, and why you have such a positive impact on anybody that comes around you. And there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to continue to draw high achievers to you and continue to succeed.
Thank you very much, Coach. Well, to wrap this up, we've been doing this little tricky question. So, if you could see Cory Faust, 10-year-old Cory Faust, right in the eyes, what would you tell him?
Probably the same advice I'd give anybody. Just keep God first. I'd say work and train as smart as you work and train hard. Believe in yourself, have no regrets, and don't forget to enjoy the journey, even the rough spots of the journey, because those rough spots will lead to your future successes.
I don't know if it's gonna be the same answer, but if it came down to your children, your kids, if they were watching this maybe in a couple of years or in 10 years, what would you say?
Yeah, I would say the exact same thing. That's honestly when I first thought, if I think about answering that question for myself, I go right to my own kids, and then to my athletes and my students that I get to coach and teach. And so it's all the same. I think if you can do those things, you're going to live a very worthwhile and fruitful life.
Coach, I think that's one of the things that make you special, and is that you care about not only you or your kids or your students or anyone. You care about them all. You care about them all in the same way. And I think you answering those two questions, as in, yeah, I would tell them to everyone. Really appreciate that about you. You really embrace people like it was your own family.
Well, thank you. Hopefully I can do that. I know that being an educator and being a head football coach comes with big platform, and that's exciting, but it's also frightening, because I know that I haven't always used that platform the best, and I'm a work in progress for sure. So I appreciate you saying that.
Of course, Coach. Thank you very much for being here. Like I always say, hopefully this inspires someone to chase that passion of yours. Whatever it is, if it helps you, I think it makes us both happy. If you like this video, if it helps you develop something, share it with someone else. Maybe they'll like it. If not, we're happy with you watching this. This is Eduardo Sicilia. Our special guest was Coach Cory Faust, and this was 2% Football Camp.